Hello everyone, this is DM Gashbad, and we are back with another Marvel Universe miniature game battle report. This time we'll be doing the Control the Energy Pillars scenario, so that means in the last 3 games we'll have done each of the basic starting scenarios that were available when the game first came out. This is going to be a bit of a small game, we're only going to be doing 30 levels, and so getting straight into it, here's my team of heroes from the Superhero Good affiliation, otherwise referred to as the Avengers. I've really been enjoying the Marvel Disney Plus shows, so I went with a WandaVision themed list. Obviously the big news in this list is that I have the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff. Like Juggernaut from the last battle report, Night Models never officially released any rules or models for the Scarlet Witch. There were these leaked rules that were put out onto the internet that I'll be using, and the model is a third-party 3D print. So I've painted 3 of these third-party models so far, and they're all of very different quality, even though I've got them from the same place. The Juggernaut model was pretty good. I did have to modify a part of the model because it didn't look quite right, a little green stuff, but otherwise the print itself wasn't too bad. The other model that I got was a Captain Marvel, and that was actually not a 3D print, but a cast resin piece, and it's great, it's fantastic, it's got all the detail you could ever want. This model here, I really went back and forth on. It's one of the older 3D sculpts that they had. It's one of their older prints, and I think it kind of shows in some ways. They had a sample of it painted up on their website, and at first I looked at that and thought, oh, that doesn't look very good at all. But it was kind of a primitive paint job, so I thought maybe I could get away with it. Really what it comes down to is that I'm a sucker for Scarlet Witch's old costume. I wanted her classic kind of devil costume. When I got the model, there were good things and bad things. The cloak had these really obvious striations, which you'll probably see in the battle report, but really those painted up okay. I'm not too unhappy with those. And so I'm painting the model and I'm actually really happy with it. It's soft detail, it's hard for me to pick out everything that's on the model, but I like how it's coming along, I like the colors that I chose, and I'm thinking it's looking pretty good. But when I get the whole thing done, there just seems to be something about it, and I think the issue is that her head is too small. I don't know if they sized the head according to her height and didn't take into account how arched her back is, but now when I look at her, I kind of think she just looks too broad in the torso. I think if her head was just a little bit bigger, the whole model would look a lot better. But there she is, let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm just being too critical. Anyway, to go with Wanda, of course, we brought the Vision. That left me with about 10 more levels to spend. They have rules for Falcon, Winter Soldier, and Quicksilver. All those would have been great to use. I didn't have any of those models painted or ready. So in the end, I just went with some street-level heroes, Daredevil and Black Widow. Over on my opponent's side, he brought a team of the Dark Avengers. So there is Iron Patriot, that's Norman Osborne in a stolen Iron Man suit. We have the fake Ms. Marvel, Carla Sofin, aka Moonstone, I believe, dressed up as Captain Marvel. And we have Sentry. Sentry is 16 levels all to himself, and he is very, very good. I think he's worth those 16 levels. Ms. Marvel and Iron Patriot, they're a little blah. But the thing that stands out to me is this is only 3 models. And we're doing Control the Energy Pillars. Control the Energy Pillars has 3 objectives spaced evenly along the center line of the table. A character in base contact with one of them can spend 2 power to switch it over to their side. You get 1 victory point at the end of a round if you control all 3 for the first time. You also get a victory point every time you have controlled one of these energy pillars for 3 rounds in a row. And you also get a victory point if you have the most pillars controlled by your team at the end of the game. So while the Dark Avengers are not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination, the fact that they only have 3 activations in every round is probably going to give me a bit of an advantage. It's probably going to let me activate these energy pillars more freely. I'll be able to spread out a little bit more, and I'll probably be able to have the last activation, meaning I'll have an opportunity to run over and switch back control of one of the energy pillars. But of course that means I have to keep my people alive, so who knows? So here's the table all set up for the board. You'll see I'm using my big under construction skyscraper again. My team is deployed on the left, his team is deployed on the right. Here's a closer shot of his deployment. Ms. Marvel is all the way over on the left, looking down at that left-hand energy pillar. Sentry and Iron Patriot, those good buddies, are all the way over on the right. There is an energy pillar inside the under construction skyscraper, which is going to be a giant pain for everyone. It's just real difficult to fit your hand into that terrain piece. I really could have engineered that a bit better. And to make things even harder on myself, I have infiltrated Black Widow right up next to that energy pillar. She has the infiltration skill, she can be set up wherever she wants. After regular deployment, that's where she's going. Assuming Super Spy Natasha Romanoff is able to take care of the left-hand energy pillar, we have Vision and Scarlet Witch in the dead center, being the power couple that they are, and inside that other under construction building, we have Daredevil. So we set up our bag of destiny with our counters to see who gets the first turn. There's not going to be any skills that are going to modify this. We go into the bag, and I'm not exactly sure what happens. Either I draw my counter and I decide to let my opponent go first, or he draws his counter and he decides to go first. He does have 2 passes. One because he has less models than I do, the other because Norman Osborn is a strategist. I have 1 pass because Black Widow is a strategist as well. But we don't get into a pass contest. My opponent takes first turn. He's going to activate Ms. Marvel, and she is going to directly fly up to that right-hand energy pillar, and she is going to flip it over to her side. She's got no problem getting to it. Ms. Marvel is pretty fast. She's got fly. She also has the phase shift ability, so she can go straight through terrain. So yeah, she just flies up and says, "Go on, take it from me, I dare you." So yeah, challenge accepted. I'm going to activate Matt Murdock, Daredevil. He's going to use Grapple Stick, which allows him to move 12 inches for 2 power. That's going to put him right into contact with that energy pillar. I'm now going to spend 2 power to flip it over to my side's control. I don't think it's very likely that either Sentry or Iron Patriot is going to get over there to flip it back, so I think that's pretty safe for the round. I've got 3 power left, so I'm going to go and throw some Billy Club attacks into Ms. Marvel. Billy Clubs is a hand-to-hand combat attack, but I can make it at characters up to 4 inches away. Daredevil has an attack of 6, which seems kinda low to me. Maybe it's because I was watching the Netflix show too much and I just assume he's a better fighter than maybe he actually is in the comics. He does have Master Fighter, which allows him to re-roll 1 of his dice every time he makes an attack. However, Ms. Marvel has power left over, she ups her physical defense, and Matt Murdock ends up missing. Back to the Dark Avengers, and it's a little hard to see, but Sentry is just going to nonchalantly move up to that left-hand energy pillar and Sentry strike into Black Widow. So Bob Reynolds, aka the Sentry, has some interesting things about him. He has a ton of power to play with every round. He's super fast, but his attacks are interesting. His attack characteristic is very low. Also, his actual attacks are a little inefficient. So, for example, Sentry Strike, you use 4 power and it only causes 3 damage. You also don't have a lot of options for small attacks. They tend to be very big, very damaging attacks that also take a lot of power. So he throws a Sentry Strike into Black Widow. Black Widow has pretty good physical defense, but she's still going to up that. That goes up to 19. Sentry still ends up hitting and puts 3 points of damage on her. That's immediately going to put Black Widow into the pale, as you would expect it would after getting hit by the guy with the power of 1,000 exploding suns. I believe Sentry also converts the energy pillar to his control, and we move on to Team WandaVision. Well, Black Widow didn't really care for that, and she didn't want to wait around to see what Norman Osborn might do. So she's going to immediately activate, she's going to flip the energy pillar back to our control, and then she's going to leave. She's going to run out the left-hand side of that building and just try and get away from the crazy people. But sometimes crazy people are hard to get away from. My opponent's going to activate Iron Patriot next. At the beginning of each of his activations, Iron Patriot has to make a hidden goblin test to see if he loses a power due to the crazy persona living inside that helmet of his. I'm not sure whether he passed or he succeeded, but it's not really going to change the outcome of this round. He's going to fly over and fire an overloaded repulsor blast at Black Widow. Black Widow still has a little bit of power remaining, so she is going to up her energy defense. That's going to bring it up to 19, so Norman Osborn is going to miss, and so Black Widow is still on her feet. So that means all of the Dark Avengers have activated, and I still have WandaVision left to go. I'm going to start off with Vision. He's going to fly over to the right-hand side of the board and try and help out Matt Murdock a bit. He's going to land on that stack of 2 shipping containers, and he's going to pick up the one directly below him and huck it at Ms. Marvel. Very helpfully, Ms. Marvel fails her agility test and so takes a full 4 points of damage to the head, also getting knocked down in the process. Vision then uses his Ghostly Vision attack on Ms. Marvel. Ghostly Vision is a mental attack, and I'm not exactly sure what this is meant to represent. I've never seen him in the comics do something like this, but he's doing it here. Ms. Marvel has a pretty good mental defense, I guess that's what you get when you're a psychologist, but she's on the ground so it's still reduced by 3, so she is down to 14. Vision manages to hit and do another 2 points of damage, which is going to put Ms. Marvel in the pale. Finally, I'm going to activate Scarlet Witch. She can't quite get into a place where she is in range and in line of sight to use any of her powers, so all she's going to do is fly up to that center console and convert it over to our side. With that, it is the end of the round. I'm controlling all 3 energy pillars, so that is going to be a victory point for me. We do have a couple of stamina tests to make. Both Black Widow and Ms. Marvel are in the pale. Black Widow passes her stamina test, and so she's still conscious, but Ms. Marvel passes out, so she's going to stay on the ground for this coming round. That's not a good thing, but we are still following the superhero code of conduct. Normally in the Marvel Universe miniature game, there's nothing stopping you from attacking someone who is unconscious on the ground, but that feels a little unheroic, so my opponent and I have entered into a gentleman's agreement where we're not going to attack anyone that is sleeping. Probably. Anyway, it's a new round. We go into the Bag of Destiny, we draw a counter, and my opponent draws his, so he is going to get the first activation of the round again. He really wants to consolidate his position over on the left-hand side, so he's going to activate Norman Osborne. I believe he fails his Goblin test, so he only has 6 power to play with this round. Still, it's enough for what he wants to do, which is get rid of Black Widow. He does not want that thorn in his side over on that edge of the board. He wants to just take control of the new skyscraper. Maybe that's going to be a new Oscorp office building or something. To that end, he fires 2 overloaded repulsor blasts into Natasha, who again spends a power to up her energy defense. Iron Patriot misses with 1 but hits with the other, and it's a crit, so that hands 3 more damage to Natasha. That's going to put her into the red. She has another stamina test to take, and this time she fails. So Black Widow is blasted unconscious, and looks like it's Iron Patriot cleaning house on the left. So it's my turn to activate a model, and I'm going to go with Vision. Vision is going to fly over to the other side of that office building, and he's going to just barely draw a line of sight to Sentry. I'm still out of range for Ghostly Vision, so the only thing that I've got is his red ability, Solar Bolt. So I spend 5 power to throw that with an overload, and I do manage to hit, which is going to cause a nice 4 points of damage to Sentry. Sentry has kind of ho-hum defenses and not a very long health bar. The thing with him is that once you take him off the table, he comes back. He has to sit out 1 whole round, and then he just returns, because that's what Sentry does. Also, he has no negative modifiers on his health track, so until you actually take him off the table, it doesn't really affect his damage output. Speaking of which, it is now Sentry's turn. He is going to flip that left-hand energy pillar over to his side's control, and then he is going to go fly over and have a little chat with Vision. Vision has the power to up his physical defense using just the defensive upgrade or his density shift, and I assume he does so, but it doesn't help him in this case because Sentry does manage to hit with a throw, and Sentry has a strength of 5. So Vision goes for a nice long ride back to his deployment zone and takes 4 points of damage on landing. So what I'd like to do at this point is to beat up on Ms. Marvel and hopefully get one of my opponent's characters off the board. However, she's unconscious right now, so my guys are just going to wait around to see if she gets up, and so I'm going to try and activate Black Widow. Like a champ, she manages to pass her stamina test, so she wakes up and then she is still focused on the mission. She moves straight back to that energy pillar. She doesn't quite have enough power to convert it to our side, but if she can keep passing stamina tests, she's got the potential of being a real problem for that side of the table for my opponent. It's back to my opponent, who tries to activate Ms. Marvel, but she does not pass her stamina test. Ms. Marvel has a stamina of 9. This is not a terribly hard test to make. My opponent is not getting too many breaks with the dice rolls so far. We're back over to my team, and I'm going to activate Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch has telekinesis, which is a real efficient throw. It allows me to throw something up to size 3 for only 2 power, and there's this dumpster right here, which I think belongs on Sentry's head. Unfortunately, Sentry manages to make his 7 or less agility test and doesn't take any damage. Wanda isn't quite done yet, though, and she goes and overloads a Scarlet Ray into Sentry. Sentry has a pretty solid Mystic defense of 16, but I hit anyway and cause him 2 points of damage. That's actually going to put Sentry in the pale, which doesn't matter that much, except that he is going to have to take a stamina test at the end of the round to make sure that he's still conscious. Finally, we have Daredevil for the round. He is going to use his grapple stick again and head on over to the main fight. He's then going to throw 2 Billy Club attacks into Sentry, 1 overloaded, 1 regular. He's going to manage to miss twice. A little surprising considering those Master Fighter rerolls. So it's the end of the round, and apparently it's nap time. Black Widow has a stamina test to make, and she fails. More surprisingly, Sentry fails his stamina test as well. Sentry has a stamina of 10, that's pretty unlucky. But we draw a counter from the bag, and I win the initiative. So with Iron Patriot out of range and everyone else just kind of incapacitated, I'm going to try and activate Black Widow. And she has just been a champ. She makes her stamina test and pops back up again. She's bleeding, she's limping, but she still has a job to do. She's going to convert that energy pillar back to my side and then just hobble away from Iron Patriot, who is, as you would expect, right on her tail. Iron Patriot activates next and goes back towards that energy pillar. The thing is, he's so mad at this 4-level character giving him so many problems that he doesn't bother to convert it back to his side. He just wants to blast Black Widow off her feet. He fires an overloaded repulsor blast at her back. Black Widow does not have enough power to up her energy defense, but he still misses. If he wasn't already insane, I think this would have driven him there. With Sentry and Ms. Marvel still sleeping, I'm going to activate Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock has total vision, and his throwing club has the homing rule, which means that he can fire it at characters he can't actually see. Or, technically, he can't draw line of sight to because he can't actually see anyone. So he bounces a throwing club off of a couple walls at Norman Osborne, but it doesn't get through that Iron Man armor and ends up missing. Over to the Dark Avengers, and Ms. Marvel fails to wake up, which really is just not helping anything for the Dark Avengers right now. Vision activates, he picks himself up off the ground and hustles over to where the action is. He gets close enough to fire a ghostly vision at Iron Patriot, hits and causes 2 points of damage. Now it's Sentry's turn, and unsurprisingly he manages to make that 10 or less stamina test to wake up. He gets back on his feet, and he uses 1,000 Exploding Suns, which is one of my favorite abilities in the whole game. It's a 5-inch wave attack, it costs 7 power to activate, and it causes 5 damage to everyone who doesn't pass an agility test. Daredevil only has an agility of 8 for some reason, and even though he does have Acrobat allowing me to re-roll these tests, he fails and takes the full 5. Vision manages to pass, he takes half damage rounded down, and so that's going to do 2 points of damage. Scarlet Witch, I believe, is in range of the attack, but she's going to use her force field, give herself resistance to energy. She's going to pass her agility test, and so she's going to take no damage. A bunch of terrain gets blown up. This includes putting a whole bunch of damage on that giant skyscraper. So that was a pretty mighty showing from the Sentry, but it could have been a lot worse. Scarlet Witch is next to activate. She doesn't have a whole lot of power left. She's going to move up towards the fight, and she's going to fire another Scarlet Ray at Sentry, and this time it misses. It's the end of the round, and we're on to the various stamina checks. This time, Black Widow and Sentry both pass their stamina tests, and so they're going to remain on their feet for the coming round. Unfortunately, my opponent draws his counter for the first activation of the round, and he is going to activate Iron Patriot, who is just furious at Black Widow. He moves up a little bit, probably to get out of line of sight of Vision and his various ranged attacks. He fires an overloaded repulsor blast on Black Widow. She ups her energy defense, but is still hit for 2 points of damage. She is still up, but she has 1 health remaining. He converts the pillar back to his side, but Black Widow has been doing phenomenally. She has kept this guy occupied the whole game, and for a lot of it, I've been able to keep control of that pillar. So even though I'd like to help out Black Widow, I kind of have this guy, this insane Superman in the middle of the table that I kind of need to deal with. I'm going to activate Vision, and he is going to move into contact with Sentry. I'm going to throw a phase punch at Sentry, see if that solves the problem. Sentry ups his physical defense. Vision overloads the attack, but he still ends up missing. In return, Sentry is going to activate, and he's going to return the favor, and he is going to try his red ability, Death Blow, on Vision. This is his other red ability along with 1,000 Exploding Suns. It's going to cost him 4 power to do, and it's going to cause 4 damage with a +3 damage for a critical. I imagine this is the attack he uses to rip Ares in half and stuff like that. Fortunately, Vision goes and ups his physical defense, and this time it's Sentry's turn to miss, and so he doesn't cause any damage this round. I believe he also throws a lead kick at Vision and misses as well, so not what you want to have happen with your 16 level character. With Vision distracting Sentry, it's now time for Scarlet Witch to make her move. She's going to activate and fire 2 overloaded Scarlet Rays at the back of Sentry's head. Both of them are going to hit, one with a crit that's going to cause 5 points of damage on Sentry and put him in the red with 1 health remaining. He does manage to pass his stamina check to stay on his feet, but I am real close to driving him off the table for a round. Unfortunately, just when it looks like we've got Sentry on the ropes, Ms. Marvel finally decides to wake up. So she stands up, she converts the energy pillar on the right-hand side, and she fires a light beam at Vision, which hits with a crit for 3 points of damage. I forgot to mention this, Vision has actually been in the pale since Sentry did the 1,000 Exploding Suns. He's been passing his stamina tests. He has a super long health bar. He is really durable, but it is getting chipped away now. But that's okay, we've got Matt Murdock for the defense. He's going to throw one billy club at Sentry, trying to take off that last point of health that he has. He misses with the first one, but his second one lands, and Robert Reynolds is no more. Well, at least no more for a little bit until he gets reborn and is coming back on the table. Anyway, with that job done and Ms. Marvel being a threat again, he is going to use his grapple stick to go over to that right-hand energy pillar. He doesn't have enough power left to convert it, but he's won the showdown in the past. He can do it again, right? Black Widow, still alive despite all Iron Patriot's efforts, is just going to move right on back to that energy pillar, and it's going to be back on my side again. Couldn't ask for more from a super spy. It's the end of the round, and so it's the stamina test time again. This time it's Vision's turn to fail his 10 or less stamina check, and so he has to reboot for a minute. Black Widow, exhausted from her efforts, also fails her stamina test, and surprisingly, Ms. Marvel passes. It is a new round, and I take the initiative, and I'm going to activate Daredevil. Right off the bat, Daredevil is going to convert that energy pillar back to my side. I'm then going to throw that billy club at Ms. Marvel again. She is going to take 2 points of damage for that. I haven't mentioned this, but the billy club is actually stun 1. Every time I hit with one of these things, I drain 1 power from the target. It is a real good attack. That power drain doesn't stop Ms. Marvel from activating next and using her red ability, Mega Blast. She overloads that, fires it at Scarlet Witch, who ups her energy defense, but she manages to hit anyway. It causes 2 points of damage to Scarlet Witch, and it is explosive 5, meaning everything within 5 inches is also going to take 2 points of damage. And just because we have this agreement that we're not going to directly attack anyone unconscious on the ground, if stuff explodes nearby him, it still is going to cause him the damage, so Vision is also going to take 2 points of damage. This also has the stun 1 rule, so everyone loses a power as well, and Ms. Marvel is making her presence felt. So I'm going to try and activate Vision, and he is having a bit of a processing error and still fails his stamina test and cannot wake up this round. That brings us over to Norman Osborn, and again, he is just sick of this energy pillar and all the shenanigans with Black Widow. He is just going to move over to the fight. He's just going to leave Black Widow to bleed out on the ground. So he flies over and fires his red ability, Tactical Missile, at Scarlet Witch. He overloads it, he hits her, it's going to cause 3 points of damage to her, and because it is also an explosive attack, it's going to cause 3 points of damage to Vision as well. Vision is now in the red. Also, remember when 1,000 Exploding Suns put a big hole in the incomplete skyscraper? Well, the tactical missile went and blew up the rest of it, so it gets removed from the table. Osborne went just a little too crazy. He was seeing red and he managed to destroy his own office building. So we're back to my turn and I'm going to activate Scarlet Witch. She's going to shoot a Scarlet Ray at Ms. Marvel. We've got opponents from both sides of us blowing up stuff. I need to get rid of somebody. We overload that, probably overload it twice because Scarlet Witch has the energy skill. Also, she has luck. She gets to re-roll one of these dice every round, so she's reasonably good at hitting despite her low attack. Anyway, she gets Ms. Marvel with a crit, which is going to cause 3 points of damage. That's going to put Ms. Marvel in the red again, and wouldn't you know it, she fails the stamina test and is passed out again. Finally, to end the turn, Black Widow is going to activate and fail to pass that stamina test. That's okay, you rest up, Natasha. The round is over and there are no stamina tests to take because everyone who is in the pale or the red is already sleeping. So we start up the new round and the first thing that's happened is Sentry is going to reappear in the opponent's deployment zone. He is at full health, all of his red abilities are refreshed, and I think he is very, very mad. Worse yet, my opponent gets the first activation of the round after drawing his counter and he's going to start with Sentry immediately. He is going to fly up to the Scarlet Witch, who is the immediate threat right now, and he is going to use his newly refreshed red ability Death Blow on her. Wanda tries to up her physical defense. It doesn't work. She's going to take the hit. She's going to take 4 points of damage. Scarlet Witch is now in the pail herself. But that rouses Vision to action. I activate him next and he manages to pass the stamina test. He comes back up and uses healing nanites, which is going to heal him for 3. That's actually going to put him back in the pail, which is nice. I move up a little bit. By the way, this is the last round of the game, so everyone's got to make an impact where they can. Speaking of which, Norman Osborn is going to try and do just that. He's going to activate next and fire 2 repulsor blasts at the badly damaged Vision. He is going to hit twice for a total of 4 points of damage, which is going to put Vision back in the red. He does pass a stamina check this time, but he is on just 3 health remaining. But guess what, Norman? You turned your back on Natasha for too long. Black Widow passes her stamina test, and in the last round of the game gets back up again. She's already got control of that energy pillar. She doesn't need to do anything more there. So you know what? First time this game, she's going to take out her gun and shoot Iron Patriot in the back of the head. Not only that, she managed to find a chink in the armor, hits with a crit for 2 points of damage. Not that it really matters. He's not going in the pail. He's not getting taken off the board or anything. It's just a spiteful little shot from her, just reminding him you do not underestimate the Widow. So proud of her. But on the other side of the field, Ms. Marvel activates and she manages to take Vision off the board with a crit force blast. But then right back at you, I activate Daredevil and he takes her out with his billy clubs. Daredevil's not even done. Now he wheels on Sentry. He throws a throwing club at him and hits with a crit for 3 points of damage. Sticks are flying in all directions. Daredevil's had a great game. The final activation is going to be Scarlet Witch. She's just going to move over and convert that energy pillar to our side. We're controlling all 3 energy pillars at the end of the game. She's too close to Sentry to attack with the ranged attacks. It doesn't really matter anyway. She's not going to take anyone out at this late date, but she has done all that she needs to do. My team has collected all the victory points from the energy pillars. We easily walk away with the win. At a certain point, I believe the Dark Avengers just kinda gave up on the energy pillars and just wanted to blast my team to smithereens, and they did a pretty good job. If it wasn't for some bad dice rolls from Sentry and just that really long health bar of Vision, my team would have been in really bad shape. I think my opponent was plagued with bad luck beginning to end, really. Iron Patriot not being able to put down Black Widow was a real thorn in his side and caused him a lot of problems. Black Widow being able to pass all those stamina tests, get up, down, be able to keep reactivating that energy pillar at just the right time. And of course, Ms. Marvel, just all these failed stamina tests, just from the very beginning of the game, really took her out of the fight. And you can't really lose a character like that when you only have 3 people. And Sentry, I think he missed a lot. He's got Power Master. He does +1 damage whenever he overloads an attack, but I think he just missed with a lot of his attacks. As for my team, I think they punched way above their weight. Daredevil is only a 6th level character, but he's real effective. His attacks are really efficient, having that stun on the billy clubs, having Master Fighter, all that is great. His health bar is not bad either. Scarlet Witch is really expensive at 11 power, but she's got a lot going on. I never used her red abilities, but Scarlet Ray is a nice mystic attack, not a whole lot of those. Her attack is miserable. She's attack 5, 6 when she's in the gray zone, but the ability to overload an attack twice and reroll one of the dice with luck, always very nice. And I think that force field is not to be underestimated. I'm not sure if I was using this very much, but Vision has the bodyguard skill, so some of those attacks that he was taking, he might have used the power to take them on behalf of Scarlet Witch. So between his bodyguard, his ability to up his defenses and use density shift, all of which up his kind of mediocre defenses, and again Scarlet Witch's ability to throw out her force field, which gives him resistance, that makes them a real interesting sort of tanky power couple. I think if you're careful about how you position them, they can move up to an objective, say, and then just absorb a lot of damage with covering each other with their various abilities. And that's really all we needed to do this game. I got an early lead on the energy pillars. Having 4 models helped. It helped with the activations and being able to claim them at the end of the round. And then my job was to not die, which they managed to do. Anyway, leave a comment below if you have any questions, observations, concerns, that kind of thing. And I will see you on the next one.